Hello,
Hello.
and welcome back. Sorry we are late. Jake went gallivanting off to Amsterdam.
I did second stag do in almost as many weeks.
But this one was a lot more low-key than the last one.
It was the stoner stag do.
Yeah.
So I've done like a lads stag do and a stoner stag do.
This was with your like hobbit mates,
With
basically.
my stoner college mates from the Shire. Yes.
Yeah.
From the Shire and distant lands now, as some of them have veered off from the Shire. But
Would you like to regale us with your antics then? What did you guys get up to?
it was good. We stayed in a Europarks, which is just south of Amsterdam.
What is Europark?
It's like a big camping site where they've got all sorts of different camping options for you.
Do they have glamping?
They have glamping. They've got a
Nice.
spot where you can put your own tent up. They've got like these kind of mobile home type things that we stayed in with your own kitchen and stuff. It was super chill. And we basically just went and got supplies.
What do you mean supplies?
Amsterdam supplies
Uh-huh.
for a big stoner group of lads and one lady. And got, all of the weed and stuff that we thought we were going to need. Went to the place, chilled out in the woods, realised we didn't have enough weed, went and walked through the whole forest to get to this other coffee shop called The Border. And they were really chill. Shout out The Border. They were fucking blessed. And then we bought a bunch more weed and fucking got a taxi back. Or some of them got a taxi back and we most of us walked back through. And we had a boat day and we went on boats. And we had truffles. Everyone, I feel like, was actually a little bit like, not disappointed by the truffles. They just kind of made you more high, if that makes sense. But it certainly wasn't like, they're not like psychedelic in the same way as
Were
like.
you operating boats on truffles?
No. We weren't doing anything, any kind of silliness like that. But we were like having truffles on one evening and just like having like smoking a lot of weed and hanging out and stuff.
That sounds like a really chill bachelor party, like way
It
more your
was.
vibe than the last one.
Absolutely, it was fantastic. It was brilliant, and just like walking through the woods, like super stoned and with all your bros and stuff, is like really nice.
Oh, nice.
It was a nice,
I'm
relaxing time.
insanely jealous.
Yeah, I know. I definitely am gonna take you there though.
Yeah, what, to the Europark?
Yeah, I think it would
Do you
be
think
really
I would
nice.
like it?
Yeah, because it's nature.
But is it like nice?
We
though?
go on big nature walks all the time.
Yeah. But
But it'll
are the
be-
facilities like, not wild in that sense?
No, like you can have that's what I'm saying. They've got it all ranges, so you can have it so we can have our own bathroom and fucking kitchenette and stuff.
Yeah.
And if the weather's good, we can use the big barbecue.
Yeah. I
If-
guess I just have to also wait for November for Japan as well to make up for the fact that I
Yeah.
couldn't come with you this time.
Exactly. We have the best holiday coming ever.
I'm so excited.
That's going to be like,
I
the
can't stop
holiday.
looking at like Japan like TikToks
Of
and
course.
stuff.
Like,
to,
not like you were watching them all the time before anyway.
Well, I was watching them all the time before, but now I have like an entire like list saved
A
of
real
places
excuse.
and things and like food and like places to shop. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. That's gonna be really cool.
Exactly. And then we'll do like a proper big like camping Europarks Amsterdam thing next year because I think you will like it. It's really nice.
How big is it?
It's massive. The forest there's huge.
Wow.
And it's all flat, so you just walk and you don't really get that tired. It's
What
super
part
chill.
is? What's the neighborhood called? or
It is
the-
literally like so there's a little town just south of Amsterdam called Amstelveen, and it's just south below that, like it's on the border of Amstelveen.
Oh, cool.
And they
cool.
can't. And I think I gathered that the rules are essentially that all of the surrounding places around Amsterdam aren't allowed coffee shops.
Yeah.
And that inside Amsterdam, the border of Amsterdam, you are allowed coffee shops, which is why that coffee shop, The Border, is literally there because
Right
it's
there.
like right on the border of
Was that where you
Amsterdam
got
city
your
limits.
supplies from?
This is on the second supplies run, yeah.
Nice.
And I got the most the one thing about The Border, I will say, disappointing space cakes. Disappointing space cakes all round.
And disappointing mushrooms as well.
Disappointing truffles, I
Truffles,
guess. But I
sorry.
did get the light truffles, but it was also just like, I don't know. I think everyone sort of remembers having a really like quite psychedelic trippy nights on
Yeah,
truffles from
yeah.
like previous years we've been to Amsterdam. But now maybe we're all a bit older and all taken like a little bit more severe psychedelics. Truffles is a little bit more like, oh, this is just kind of like gets you really high. It doesn't really kind of like make you trip out or anything in the same kind of
mushroomy way. Yeah. Well, it seems like a lot of people are getting married now. We're at the age where like everyone's getting married. Like
It
there's
is.
2 weddings.
It's just that age, isn't
We've
it?
had to say no to some.
Well, we've been to a few weddings before even this. It's just the stag do bit I've always ended up sort of missing out on because it's not been anyone I've been particularly close with in that regard.
Well, there's more that there's weddings we've had to say no to because they're becoming so expensive these days.
My brother did like a fucking
Destination wedding.
family stag do, and then he did like a lad stag do, which I feel like is a good move. Where he did like a fucking family stag do, where I believe it was like not family stag do, but just more of like a low key stag do, and then like a fucking lad stag do.
Yeah.
Where low key stag do I went to, my dad went to, and we all just like went to and had a nice Thai curry in Tame and fucking got pissed as fuck.
Yeah.
And that was lovely. That was great. There's like, it doesn't need to be any more than that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's kind of boring though. Getting a curry.
But it's like, that's the point. It's with all your best people. It's not not necessarily like where you are or any of that stuff. Like, it was great to be in Amsterdam and do all of that.
Yeah.
We could have done it somewhere in the UK, but ironically, it would probably be more expensive.
Yeah.
If we did it in the UK.
Definitely.
So it's kind of like, but probably even part of the reason we did it, not let alone all of the, legal weed and all that kind of stuff.
Also, speaking of people, lots of people getting married and stuff.
Sorry, one last comment about the weed culture in Amsterdam.
Go on then.
I feel like I've noticed more now, especially as I've experienced both a little bit more, the kind of difference in decriminalized culture and fully legalized culture between like California and Amsterdam, and both of them have positives and negatives. Like the California culture is great because you know exactly what you're getting, and like the stuff is fucking done to such another expert level. It's just like stupid. But everybody just takes their weed and goes home. It's like the opposite of fucking hanging out, like replacing the pub vibes, creating the third spaces, right?
Yeah.
And Amsterdam, you can go to somewhere and get a fucking space cake and you'll be like, this is literally Betty Crocker's like pan shit with like maybe some stuff in it, but you wouldn't even really know.
Yeah.
And it didn't even really get me that high. And you can go to the next door cafe and have a space cake, and it's literally like this curated little patisserie thing that fucking blows your head off.
Yeah.
And they're both like 15 euros. So it's just like, what the fuck is happening here?
Whereas in California, you kind of know what you're getting.
Yeah, but they've not got the vibe.
They don't have the vibe.
They don't have the vibe in
it's
like
an Apple store.
Not all of them are like Apple stores. There are some that have a more friendly vibe in the actual stores, but I think that they need more spots where you're fucking smoking and you're actually hanging out and stuff.
Yeah.
Like there was only a couple of spots like that in San Francisco, and then otherwise you're like kind of smoking on the street if you're a tourist or whatever, and then it's sort of like you're, and then you're also kind of like getting stoned in America where all the cops have guns and stuff, and then as like a non-American where you don't have to think about that sort of thing very often, all of those sorts of thoughts come and start entering your head as you're getting really high on this really nice weed.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my god, now I'm like of two minds. Should I be paranoid that I'm going to get shot? And then you're like, oh no, I'm the right colour. It's all good.
Oh, wow. Thank you for opening with casual racism.
I'm just joking.
We were waiting for it. I
didn't hit the 10. I did hit the 10-minute mark. There we go. We're fine. We're in. We can do all the casual racism we want.
Okay. Well, speaking of people getting married, we were Jake bought me this like little copy of the Kamasutra a while ago.
That was ages ago.
Yeah, ages ago.
Have you been using that for lyrics as well as the Chinese poetry? But I feel like you should be using the Kama Sutra.
The Kama Sutra
as well.
it's problematic because we were looking at what the marriage advice in here was. I think we bookmarked it. Would you like to do the honors and
yeah, just I guess because I've been
read
going
the marriage advice from the Kama Sutra.
Because I've been going to all these stag do's and stuff. I guess it was just like on my mind, and then I saw it in the index. So I was like, okay, let's have a look and see what this holy text has to say about holy matrimony. It says, when a girl is of the same caste and a virgin, is married in accordance with the precepts of the Holy Writ, the results of such a union are the acquisition of Dharma and Artha. Meaning if you date outside your race and she's not a virgin, then you will
You'll
equate
accumulate bad
negative
karma.
dharma and
Yeah.
Arthur.
That's how it works, Jake. You've got lots of negative karma quite clearly. Quite clearly.
The Indians are going to be furious at me. Offspring affinity, increase of friends, and untarnished love. For this reason, a man should fix his affections upon a girl who is of good family, whose parents are alive, and who is 3 years or more younger than himself.
Already disqualified there already.
She should be born of a highly respectable family, possessed
Pretty
of wealth,
respectable.
well connected, and with many relations and friends. I feel like this is like the incels ancient text version of I want a guy in finance.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like I want a girl from the right cast.
From the right cast. With a
She must be-
well-connected background.
She must be of a respectable family.
And of the right cast. Go on, let's
I
hear
want a
some
girl
more.
of wealth, of the right cast. Let's try and like.
Should we get the AI? Should we get the AI to make a beat?
Do you think the AI is going to know the most recent meme reference of
I'm
a
looking
guy in
for a
finance?
guy in finance.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. We
I
might
don't
have to
know.
but anyway, continue. Let's
She should also be beautiful,
of course.
of a good disposition, questionable. with lucky marks on her body.
I do have
which
like
you do.
weird.
You've got the African lucky mark that all the
No,
Africans have.
that's like because I got my MMR
Yeah,
vaccine
the-
in Nigeria. I
the-
have this like weird scar.
all the if you have a proper bush girl. Okay,
Wow, Jake.
this is the mark of a proper bush girl
Wow.
that got her jabs, her inoculation jabs in Africa. Okay,
Wow, Jake.
but I call it a beauty mark.
That's very sweet. That's very sweet of you. Thanks.
With her lucky marks on her body and with good hair. There you go.
Yeah.
Nails,
Pretty thick.
teeth, ears, eyes,
I have like a bunny overbite thing happening.
and breasts.
Yeah, I'm pretty well endowed in that area.
Neither more nor less they ought to be,
Oh my god.
and no one of them entirely wanting, and not troubled with a sickly body.
I do get like full sick sometimes.
The man should, of course, also possess these qualities himself.
Yeah, Jake. Your breasts need to be more shapely.
More shapely
They need
breasts.
to be more shapely.
I feel like my buns are shapely.
And I feel like you could be of a higher caste.
I could be of a higher caste.
Yeah.
I'm white. I'm doing
Wow.
I'm doing pretty good.
Wow, you're of hobbit caste, not aristocrat caste, so you know.
But all events says the Gothtaka Muka, a girl who has already joined with others, i.e. no longer a maiden, should never be loved.
Does it actually say should never be loved?
Yes, for it would be
Wow.
reproachable to do such a thing.
It would be reproachable.
Yeah,
Wow, Kamasutra. That's like pretty
there we go. That's the marriage advice from the Kamasutra.
It's not just like sexy pictures and
It's life advice. It's reasonable, rational life advice.
if you think Reddit and angry feminists and like manosphere people were bad, just like open the Kama Sutra and
you check most of those
know.
boxes though.
You check. I don't know. We would have to go through it again for me to see because I like that it said that the man also has to tick the boxes as well.
You want to go through the list again?
Let's go through the list
You
again.
want to check me for my list?
Let's do it because I think it's unfair.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Okay, so it
good
should be-
teeth was one of
hang on.
them. You're
Who is-
British, so
who is
that's
of,
like
who is of good family.
your family's alright.
Oh wow!
They're from the
Wow.
Shire, you know.
Whose parents are alive?
Yes.
Check.
Yes.
And who? This doesn't apply to me. It shouldn't. The 3 years younger thing. How can it apply for both of them?
True.
So it's for you.
Okay, fine.
You-
I'm
and you-
disqualified.
And you're disqualified. 3 months. Does that count?
Does that count? I'm 3 months younger than Jake.
She should be born of highly respectable family. Am I born of a highly respectable family?
You're from a upwardly mobile working class family, so you know.
Respectable enough.
It's respectable enough.
Possessed of wealth.
Not
minus
yet, no.
minus signs. Well connected.
Yeah, you're pretty. I mean, you took me to an event, and David Gilmour was there.
I did do that.
So yeah,
and
I've
done other several things like that with you in the past.
So you're well connected. That's a good one.
He should also be beautiful or handsome, I guess.
Yes, of course.
Of good disposition.
You're of much better disposition than me. Much better disposition.
With lucky marks on his body.
You've got lots of lucky marks.
I do have little moles and shit everywhere, I guess, if you want to count those. With good hair, nails, teeth, ears, and eyes and breasts. This is where I fall down.
You've got wonderful breasts.
Wow.
Might I add, just wonderful breasts.
Great. Anything else? Nothing else.
Lovely hair.
Everything,
teeth,
everything else is a pass. Wow. Minus signs. But no more or less than they ought to be. A sickly body. I don't have a sickly body.
You don't get sick very often. Not as often as I do.
And then the man should possess all of himself unless he's not enjoying him.
Does he have to be a maiden
with
as
a bad
well?
maiden? I don't know. It doesn't specify with the men. Actually, well, it is expected that you are of all those things as well, and it does mention that they should be a virgin.
Next time you go to a stag do, bring this, read it.
Next time one of those fucking Harry Krishnas stops me in the street, I'll ask him about it. I go, listen, mate, I don't read much of your Bhavada Gita and all of that, but I did read a little passage on your Kamasutras because I was slightly interested, and it was pretty weird. What do you think about that? And then let's see what they say.
Oh my God.
Actually, they tried to recruit me into one of their little fucking groups, didn't they?
Did they now?
The 180 Club or something like that in London.
They did. A lot of cults have tried to recruit you. I think you just have that vibe.
I think my problem is I never follow through. I think that's like they've
you always
tried.
Chat them up, but you never follow through.
They've tried so many times, but I never follow through.
No,
it's my fault that I'm not happy leading a cult and gaining a status in an elite little group of people or whatever.
Oh my God, that's all you're looking for.
Maybe
that's all you're looking for.
I've got the whole Manson Jesus brand thing going.
I think you do really well in Nigeria.
I think I do really well in America.
In America,
I think
America?
in places where in the west of America, in the east of America, they don't give a shit about the English accent. It doesn't move anything. Actually, that's not true. In Philadelphia, lots of MILFs were quite taken back with how much I look like Russell Brand. And you were very upset about it when we were in Maggiano's or whatever, the god awful faux Italian fucking restaurant we were in. It was okay, but I mean
Oh man.
Just some classically American
weird chain restaurant.
It was my first experience of any of that thing, and it was.
You were really
funny.
excited about it.
But the English accent moves West Coast Americans a lot
Very
more.
True.
So I feel somewhere out in Texas or in California or somewhere like that. Maybe not Texas. Texas, I feel it's not going to move you. It's not going to move the Texans. They don't like a fruity Brit. They just think I'm gay.
Yeah, pretty much.
They just hear me talk and think I'm gay.
I think you're right there.
So I don't think it would fly over in Texas. I think California are definitely maybe in Bakersfield, some kind of more rural, kind of California. I could definitely pull off some full Manson, positive Manson cult vibes.
Cult vibes.
I
could see it. I could run
a new psychedelic church in Laguna Beach. I could be that guy. Do you know what I mean?
I would join you in that endeavor for sure.
It's not sunny enough in the UK to do that sort of thing.
No, definitely not. People aren't. There's not. I mean, if you're gonna start a cult here, it would have to be a weird Wicker Man kind of situation.
Well, it's you can get away with it in California because it's so sunny. You don't really
get
need
away with it here on the Isle of Wight.
You don't really need a building. You can just sort of get away with it and build a campsite.
No, I'm sure there are
weird
bigger. Cults on the Isle of Wight and then weird remote places in England and stuff.
They're all Masons and what do you call it? That Stanley Kubrick film, fucking Eyes Wide Shut. It's all Eyes Wide Shut shit. God. You don't want no part of that. Especially Isle of Wight stuff. It's all inbred fucking families and shit. It just goes back fucking centuries and shit.
Well, anyway,
don't want no part of that.
Let's get into the meat of the episode. So, first on the bill is this weird ass P Diddy video.
J. George, not all Americans think Euro dudes are gay. Okay, definitely not the case. I've experienced it.
Let's move into the meat of the episode. Anyway, so there's been this really weird P Diddy video that leaked, where he's kind of he had his child on his lap, and he was in
this
front
was
of
hilarious.
some weird statue, and he was like railing off this vague name of lists. Yeah, let's show them the video. It was very, very weird.
Take a listen.
Drake. Oprah. J-Lo. A-Rod. Will Smith. Alicia Keys. Look at this pretty hair. Black King God, dude. Justin Bieber.
I want someone fucking
Kevin Hart.
transpose what he like whispers to his kid in that bit as well. It's like super creepy.
Yeah.
Says something about a king or something like, "You're a little king," or like, like something like that.
That's so weird.
Like it's fucking
So
creepy
dark.
as fuck.
Mark Wahlberg. Snoop. DJ Khaled. Swiss Beats. Kelly Rowland. Chris Brown.
Kelly Rowland.
Walloon. Sheree. Sierra. Janelle Monáe. Yeah, that's my sis right there. Lizzo. Megan Thee Stallion. J Balvin. Naomi Campbell. That's your auntie. Yes, Naomi Campbell, your auntie. No, she's a super.
Oh my god.
Why?
Well, anyway, he's railing off this like name of lists, which is this like list of names, which is like super vague.
There's a better video of this, but I wasn't able to find it where it's like zoomed out of a bit more, and you can see this really like creepy statue that he's doing it in front of as well.
Yeah.
Like, and the music isn't added by anybody else. That was him that he added the music for.
Well,
as
the
well.
context is obviously like it seems threatening. That's kind of what I'm guessing, is that he's suggesting that he has compromising material on all of the people whose names he's mentioning. Which is this is kind of like a weird twisted Bond villain way of showcasing that, if that's the case, like having your child like read off their names in front of some weird fucking mysterious statue.
Whilst commenting like, "That's your auntie."
That's like really dark. That's like some Tony Soprano shit right
Remember
there.
all these people from your christening? They're all Satan worshippers.
Oh my god.
And they're
Oh
trying
my
to
God.
take me down, so I'm taking them all down with me.
But even then, even though obviously it's quite salacious, a lot of the people he mentioned on the list aren't really that relevant anymore.
I mean, Lizzo.
Yeah,
and,
there are a few on
Drake.
There are a few like modern ones, but a lot of the ones he mentioned at the beginning were people like J-Lo and
Well, she's still
Snoop
trying, bless her.
Dogg.
She's still trying.
She's still trying, yes. To all of our detriment. Snoop Dogg, like people who
He's
aren't
still trying. He's running Death Row Records. Like,
yeah,
still
but he's
doing
not
stuff.
necessarily as relevant anymore. A-Rod, who the fuck is that?
I think that's the. I think they. I don't know. I don't know.
I have no idea who that is.
His
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg is like, obviously everyone knows Mark Wahlberg from
Yeah, but he's not that relevant
such
anymore.
comedy classics that he's been in recent years. I did actually. There is one more Mark Wahlberg movie that I did enjoy, which was The Other Guys with Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
That was like, well, not Will Smith, sorry, with Will Ferrell. That was one Mark Wahlberg film I did enjoy, but I don't know about the rest.
There's a lot of people who I don't really care about and haven't cared about for years, and then obviously some sort of new people, some more like.
I'm guessing like
people.
Sierra and all those other like black lady names. They were like kind of like R&B singers from 2005 or
Yes,
something that he
Jake,
like
yes.
put on and whatever.
Yes.
So I just like made those assumptions. You know what I mean? Like I didn't need
Kelly
to.
Rowland too. I'm surprised. I thought she was
Wasn't
a good
she?
girl.
Wasn't she in Destiny's Child or
yeah.
something? So she wasn't. I don't think like. I don't
thought
think
she
she
has this kind of
necessarily
good
clearly did any.
persona.
She clearly didn't do any deal, or if she did, her deal backfired. Like
Well, she had
she
a
was in
solo-
Destiny's Child
No,
before.
she had
Like
a
the Puff
solo-
Daddy would have known her.
She had a solo career in the like mid 2000s. She had like a bunch of house hits. And she did really well in Europe actually. There was like a hot second here where like she was like popping or whatever, cuz we like dance music. But she's not necessarily, again, not that relevant. And yeah, like a lot of the other people who he mentioned, it's super ominous. But there's been speculation surrounding like his relationship with Justin Bieber.
He mentions Justin Bieber on
Yeah,
that
I
list.
was gonna say he mentions Justin Bieber on the list. Like a lot of the people who he mentioned are people who he's like been previously tied to, and the fact that he's like dropping this weird ominous list now, when he's obviously under scrutiny, is like quite strange. And the way he's done it too is really disturbing.
I
like
think just including his kid and stuff in it is a
it just shows
very
you his character, the
like,
type of person he
weird,
is.
like, gives it like an extra dangerousness almost to it. If
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's sort of like really creepy
Yeah,
that you would have
sinister.
like a kid naming all of these names after you.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, and the reason why I was sort of elaborating about the statue in front of it as well, because like this, I think it's sort of like ritualistic, if you know what I mean.
Kind of, yeah.
It's pretty creepy. Like,
What
it
is
has,
the statue that he's standing in front of?
it's like a woman made out of these rings of metal, and it has like these spiky tits, and she's standing in like this kind of majestic pose. That's it.
That's it.
But it looks kind of like futuristic-y masony, sort of like something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Does it
if you were to type in like
It
like,
wouldn't be out of place in
statue-
Bohemian Grove.
it would, if you typed in
or
like
like the
sci-fi,
Denver
if you,
airport.
if you typed in like sci-fi Bohemian Grove or something like that's exactly the sort of thing that I would imagine. Like,
the AI would like spit out or whatever.
or just that's what I would imagine in my mind's eye.
But even then, yeah, it's really sinister and like villain, like really over the top cartoon villainy. And he's the Scorpio, so that doesn't fucking surprise me.
That's why he's not a Gemini.
Huh?
That's why he's not a Gemini.
He has Gemini vibes, but Scorpio and Gemini both have that same
All
sinister
the motherfuckers. It sounds like he's backstabbed
energy.
and fucked. Like, sounds like he should be a Gemini.
No, Gemini has a different kind of sinister, mercurial kind of energy. Scorpio's sinister energy is shit like this. Like,
You think so?
yeah, like Dr. Evil shit, I think.
He's not quite there.
It is, like, what else do
stroking
you
a
do?
cat like, I'm
is,
gonna
he
feed
basically
Beyonce to a shark with frickin' lasers.
He might as well
Like-
be. He might as well be. This is like really dark and sinister. But even then,
I would actually pay to watch the stream where he does feed Lizzo to a shark with frickin' lasers. I feel like that would be hilarious and the best meal them sharks has ever had in their life.
that's like so awful of you to say. That's terrible, Jake.
I reckon
Wow.
if they were smart sharks, they would cook Lizzo with the lasers first and then go for it.
Oh my god.
Unless they just want it blue, they just like their steak
Sushi,
blue.
Lizzo sushi.
Yeah, they want
Raw.
Lizzo sashimi.
Oh my god, that's awful. But yeah, I mean, I don't really want to get hyped about any of it, despite the fact that it's like sinister. It reminds me of like the Kevin Spacey, like when he like bummed everyone out at Christmas time by doing that like weird House of
I
Cards.
think that's why like it's the most boring in terms of like elections and stuff, is because it is like the fucking schizo year. So they're trying to just be like, no, it's all just regular schmegular. What are you talking about? All this stuff. It's just we're gonna talk about all the normal talking points.
But yeah, even then,
All the secrets are gonna be released.
well, even then, I don't think so. I think, and I'll get to why in a second, but yeah, it kind of reminded me of the Kevin Spacey weird video House of Cards thing he did where he like bummed everyone out and like did
He was like in character.
yeah, he was like in character and he was like, if I did it,
non-apology.
yeah,
like,
weird like thing or whatever, and it was like super sinister and weird. I wonder what his astrology sign is. But yeah,
I
anyway,
wonder if his agent left him before or after he made that.
who knows? But yeah, anyway, the reason why I'm not so like, oh, everything's going to be disclosed and this is the year, blah, 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 blah. Even though like, you know, things are coming out. Really and truly, the truth is what is really kind of coming to the surface is just how much people have to compromise themselves in order to get to certain positions. And nobody wants to admit that they like sold their butt in order to get to where they're at. So as long as people aren't really willing to do that, people like P. Diddy will continue to get away with everything that they do.
Okay, so
Because in order to get the gatekeepers like him, people would have to admit that they've compromised themselves in really heinous, embarrassing ways in order to get, you know, access to XYZ. And no one wants to do that because it would mean them having to admit that their entire career or the opportunities that like made their career were ill-gotten. And that's the reason why I think people like P. Diddy are just kind of perpetually going to exist. Because that's how the system works.
So do you think that he's going to get Epsteined and he's going to mysteriously cameras shut off and he wakes up in his prison cell not able to spill the beans on Naomi Campbell and
Who
Will Smith and like all these people.
Who knows?
Because that's what
What
ultimately
happened. Yeah.
no, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
But that is also ultimately why we are so left in the dark
Yeah.
with that case.
Yeah.
Because it didn't go any further because there's no one to ask any further questions and fucking dig further and evidence deleted and like all of this kind of stuff because they didn't want any of that to come out.
Yeah.
And I think the difference is with this case is that P. Diddy is a literal man-child.
Yeah.
And if he does have any kind of serious repercussions where he would face jail for like even 20 years or something that's not even arguably like a life sentence or something, but just serious enough time, I think he would throw a complete hissy fit and throw his shit at the wall and every single motherfucker that could to try and eradicate as much of his own time as possible.
But look what's happening.
I think that unless maybe some other powerful black people come out and try to kill P. Diddy, that is actually what's going to happen.
Well, look what's happening with Kevin Spacey. He was on, and especially now because tea spilling and conspiracy teasing has become kind of culturally lucrative in the same way wokeness once was. Kevin Spacey was on Piers Morgan recently,
and Lex Friedman. He's been
he's been doing the rounds recently, and as well as disclosing the sort of losses he's suffered due to the stuff he's been accused of. He was talking about how his house was being foreclosed and all of this other stuff. He also kind of used it as an opportunity to spill tea on the whole Epstein situation. And I'm paraphrasing, so I suggest like go watching it yourself or whatever. But basically what he said was that he was on the plane at the behest of the Clinton Foundation, and it was him and a bunch of other celebrities who were going to a quote-unquote charity event, and that he didn't know who Epstein was or who Ghislaine Maxwell was, but that he thought it was odd that Epstein had all these young girls around him and that he felt that it would be compromising to the president. And I don't know, maybe what he's saying is true or whatever, but it's like, it's very convenient that he's dropping this information now.
It's like this happened in like 2003 or something, basically.
Yeah.
When Bill Clinton was still going around doing stuff like that.
But it's easy.
And I thought, gee golly, isn't it strange?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, but then that was 20 years ago, Kevy. So
but it's also,
why have you only kept this to yourself until literally just now?
Yeah. And I don't want to sound totally like cynical or whatever, but like it could possibly be a way of him trying to kind of re-ingratiate himself with the public, considering people are thirsty for this kind of content right now.
He does have an odd way of delivering bombshell news, though, doesn't he? Because like I think the first time that he was accused of like
he was like, I'm gay,
molesting someone,
people,
he was like, it's okay, guys, I'm gay.
Yeah, I remember.
So I feel like
so now he's like, maybe I did some stuff and all this stuff, but look at that.
But I thought, gee golly, mister, isn't it strange they're trying to like put all these young girls around the president?
It does seem like a red herring.
So like he's got like a really interesting way of just being like, yeah, guy, I might have done a whoopsie, but hey, did you fucking see this? That is like,
but like that's kind of what I think is going on there. I could be wrong, and at the same time, the judicial system is so broken, and it's also so influenced by media. Like part of the reason why, like, look at fucking Weinstein. Weinstein was recently acquitted for a bunch of shit, and the reason why is because a lot of, not necessarily because he's not guilty, but because the case was really poorly handled, because people were so fervent about, like,
too emotional.
So
they didn't do
their due diligence, and now the asshole like is walking around, and that's kind of the thing that like.
Well, barely. He was in a walker last time he was around, wasn't he? He was on one of those tennis ball guys
on his tennis balls or whatever. But yeah, like that they didn't do their due diligence in the case, which like fucked it up. But at the same time, it's hard to. We're in such a strange culture now where it's like hard to actually bring anything to light without it just becoming like a media circus, and that becoming the main focus rather than the actual justice part itself. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's not a new phenomenon. Like that's been going on for a very long time, but it's like it seems accelerated now. And especially now that conspiracy theories are more sort of publicly acceptable, a lot of people are trying to cynically kind of manipulate that. Like we talked about Cat Williams recently, and like, yeah, I feel like he has a lot of grievances about his career and like what hasn't worked out for him, and he's sort of, that's not to say that some of what he's saying isn't true, but I hate it when people mix that stuff in with power politics. You know?
Definitely. But I feel like he is someone that, especially Cat Williams, is sort of someone where if you do give him the right kind of opportunity, he will fucking shine in it. Like even like in Atlanta and shit, when he was playing that crazy crocodile dude in that and stuff. That was kind of not like a comedic role. That was not like a straight. It was kind of a balanced role.
Yeah.
But in a fairly kind of serious, weird tonal show, he fucking killed it. And it's not the sort of thing you would expect from him, if you know what I mean.
No,
That's not his usual like black comedy film stuff, which is what he mostly did as an actor. That's most. He
shines as a comedian and he shines as an actor, but he's not. I hate that like a lot of comedians and actors are now pivoting towards like becoming commentators. Like Russell Brand did it, and now he's like a born again Christian, and now Cat Williams is trying to be seen as the guy who like knows all the conspiracy tea or whatever the fuck.
This year,
and it's just like, just be funny. What's wrong
this
with
year? I feel like is like the kind of like theme or the feeling of it with information is definitely like a more open open conversation, or a seemingly open conversation, because it's not just like all these massive people have come back seemingly out of nowhere in the last week, like Kevin Spacey, like all these people who've given all these like crazy interviews and stuff. Tim Cook did a fucking like interview with Marky Brownlee, like the fucking YouTuber, the CEO of Apple. Like all these guys, like fucking Todd Howard did one with the fucking guy from like some gaming YouTuber, the CEO of fucking Bethesda. Like all these.
What's your point?
This is new. This isn't normal. Where like the heads of massive companies are doing like YouTube videos with people having like seeming conversations and whatever, trying to like speak more directly to people basically. And be like, and the openness, the transparency that people expect now has kind of reached the technological level in which we're at.
Yeah, but that can also be cynically manipulated. I think it gives people the illusion of transparency a lot of the time. And I think that there are people who are really clever at noticing these trends and kind of marketing accordingly. And I think that that's definitely happening in the kind of schizo conspiracy.
I see it as
space.
what I'm saying. I totally see it in that space. But in the last month, I've seen those other videos with these huge fucking business people talking on YouTube channels, where it's just like, this is completely different.
Yeah.
This is like a pattern that's bigger than just everyone's interest and confirmation of Illuminati UFOs real. But like it goes through to like our general feeling of what do we expect from the level of communication and expectation from things and figures in the world. And that there should be a much more direct and easy, open relationship with those people. It shouldn't be as guarded as it is.
Well, that's the thing. It always has been. And I feel like the people are expecting that sort of transparency, or at least the illusion of it now, because they're so disillusioned with the old model of like freak-offs and cloak and dagger deals behind closed doors. Like there's been a lot of disillusionment recently with like celebrity culture because of all the scandals that have been coming out. And this sort of air of like perverseness that kind of hangs over a lot of celebrities now because of this stuff. And I think people want to be presented with like the illusion of transparency so they can like know they can know that what they're supporting is morally like clean or whatever.
They definitely, none of those people talked about Israel Palestine or anything. Like they talk about
but it even
Apple
falls,
stuff.
It even
they talk about
comes
the
down
Bethesda
to that.
games they're making, and it's not talking about anything edgy.
It
or
even
off
comes down to
that
that, and I think it's because no one really wants to face the truth, which is that creative people are usually quite fucked up. They're also some of the least respected members of society, and it's one of the least respected like vocations that you could possibly do. And they're quite easily exploited because of that. And many people who make it do so by compromising themselves in really fucked up ways. And we also have like this sort of culture of flossing or whatever. So no one wants to admit that their achievement is through ill-gotten gains. I mean, even with Nepo babies and stuff, even Nepo babies struggle to admit that they gained access through the familial connections that they have. No one wants to say that my success is due to something outside of my own volition, even if it clearly was. And like, that's the reason why I feel like when a lot of these people come out about people, they only tell half truths. Because if they were going to tell the whole truth, it would entail admitting some shit about having compromised themselves. And even
Well, that's where I think Cat Williams feels like he can speak as flagrantly as he likes, because he doesn't he has a genuinely clean conscience.
Yeah.
And if he didn't, then there would immediately be the stones thrown back at his fucking glass house to shatter that illusion.
Of course, but my problem...
But that didn't happen when he went and did that massive viral thing.
Although he does have skeletons, but we won't go into that.
He smoked crack behind a bush once behind the school or something. Like, yeah, for sure, everyone's got a crazy...
Not just that, but
everyone's
anyway,
got a crazy weekend story.
But anyway, but as I was saying, I agree with that. My problem with Kat is that he mixes it with like his career grievances. If you choose to take the noble, quote unquote, high and righteous path, you have to kind of be okay with the fact that you're going to lose access to certain opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
And be gracious about that and not like be a whiny bitch about it. And that's my problem with people like Cat Williams and Dave Chappelle, is despite the fact that some of the tea they're spilling might be true, it's always tinged with this like deep bitterness that I did the right thing and I wasn't rewarded for it in the way that I think I should have been, type of thing. And it's like, if you say no to the fucking devil's contract or whatever the fuck, like, that comes with, you know, having to take responsibility for being independent.
I don't know how long Dave Chappelle's goodwill is going to last for people.
Yeah.
For me, it is like already run thin.
What is irritating about you about him? Why do you find him annoying?
Like his last, I would say, almost 3 specials, which includes his, what was it, the Mark Twain thing? There was like a Mark Twain special. No, it was like a Mark Twain Awards thingy that he was given, but then he also did like basically a stand-up set for that, and it was on Netflix and stuff as well. So I'm including that as like a piece of his comedy or whatever the fuck as well, if I'm remembering that correctly. His last 3 specials, fucking garbage. It's 3 hours of comedy that didn't make me laugh. And as a comedy legend, I would see that almost like John Carpenter at this point.
Why do you think that is, though?
You've gone from like The Thing and like all these amazing stuff to then like, what the fuck is that movie about Ice Cube on Mars? And like,
why do you think the quality of his comedy
just dropped off?
What do you think it's because he's
so self-obsessed?
He's aged out, or do you think he's too self-absorbed?
Completely too self-absorbed, too self-obsessed, and is surrounded by people that fucking lick his ass.
But that's what I was going to say.
Nobody will just tell him that the fucking shit that he's been doing recently is not funny.
Yeah.
And also this sort of bitter fucking attitude he has towards Key and Peele and Comedy Central and all this other stuff. It's just like, bro, fucking prove it then. You wrote but you've already written some of the most classic, legendary stoner comedies films of all time, which is a really hard niche fucking comedy genre to actually fucking master. You already did that. You've made one of the best fucking of all time sketch shows of the 2000s. Do it again. If you're so fucking great and you've still got it and you can still fucking smash it, just keep doing it. Like, no one's going to fucking reject any of your stuff. Netflix has tried to fling so much fucking money at you all the fucking time for anything you want to fucking do or say. There's no fucking reason. But everybody just gives him props from this legendary status from back 20 years ago.
Yeah, he's sort of resting on his laurels a bit.
Massively. And everybody lets him.
Yeah, which is annoying. A lot of them get away with that. But yeah, when it comes to the whole sort of like celebrity, Hollywood, Illuminati, conspiracy, blah, 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 blah thing, I think that everyone's just going to get cock-teased in perpetuity because nobody's going to tell the truth.
as I said, I think P Diddy will, because he's a man child, and if he
I
gets
don't
any,
think
if he
so. I
gets
think
even,
they kill him before, because the people he mentioned are incredibly high profile and connected. I think
See.
you're probably right in the sense that it's more likely he'll get Epstein than they'll allow him to just like spill the beans on everyone, especially if he has highly compromising material.
not to sound
on-
disrespectful, but like there were like international potential like spy fucking connections and all sorts of crazy shit that were going to get unveiled with Jeffrey Epstein.
Same thing
All
with
this,
P
like-
Diddy. Apparently he was working with the fucking feds. There's all sorts
Well,
of shit.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, there is. There's all kinds of shit. Fucking what's it called? He was working with the feds. All sorts of shit. Allegations about trafficking. This shit goes fucking deep when it comes to P Diddy, and that's what I'm saying is that if it's a kind of web, then they're likely to kind of nip it in the bud in the same way that they fucking did with Epstein.
Pray for P Diddy, yo. Pray for P Diddy.
Or not.
Well, don't
or
you want to
not.
hear? Don't you want to hear the information? The reason why we're all still cock blocked with the Illuminati and everything else is because fucking they killed Epstein.
But no, it's because it's the other side of the coin is you have these sorts of horrible, like degenerate, narcissistic psychopaths who are in power. But then you also have incredibly insecure, desperate people who are willing to compromise themselves for things. And as long as that system perpetuates itself, this kind of shit's always going to be a thing. And you'd be surprised how quickly people bend as soon as like a little carrot is dangled in their face.
Yeah.
It's sad.
I mean, I don't know. It's kind of it's that thing, isn't it, where it's just it's the same kind of logic as like drug taking and all this other kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like it's just people are going to do it,
Yeah.
and if someone's willing to do it,
Yeah.
it will be done.
Well, then don't drag. That's the thing. Don't drag everyone into it. Then,
But the
if
thing
you
is
want to have
those,
your weird
and
like
this is,
system
and this
of
is,
like molestation
and this is
buggery,
what, but this
then,
is
like,
what I
go
was
do
saying.
that over there.
This is what I was saying about
Leave the rest of us alone.
This is what I was saying about the bad pigs in Animal Farm.
Oh my god, here we
Okay.
go. I've been hearing about Animal Farm for the last fucking month now.
I'm just saying, P Diddy was a bad
Was
pig.
a bad pig.
Okay.
A very bad pig.
And there'll always be, but that's what you're saying
Yeah.
is, as long as there's human nature, essentially, this sort of thing will exist, because there will forever be people that will be willing to debase themselves for social mobility and
Yeah.
whatever else.
Yeah.
And so this
But even the
comes
people
down
who don't debase themselves are bitter about not getting the social mobility.
yeah.
What happened to the people who were like monk-like?
But that's
know?
but that's where I feel like his frustration
fuck?
comes from, is that if someone
Make peace
had
with it.
if someone had a good project and actually fucking had the courage to fucking cast someone like Cat Williams, that he would be able to do the similar thing to what Adam Sandler and people have done.
Yeah, but then
Where
again,
people actually, like, if there's a non-comedy film that Adam Sandler's in now, a lot of people just go, oh, hold up, I'll actually fucking watch that, because it would probably be fucking sick, like every other non-comedy movie Adam Sandler's ever done.
But even then, I think that, I'm not saying that these people don't face hurdles and things like that, but both of them have had so much access to the point where if they had made wise decisions, they could have invested in making the sort of thing that they wanted to without necessarily being fully embedded in the system. It just takes like having the bravery to step outside of it and do
Maybe.
you, and take the hit.
I'm surprised Tyler Perry wasn't on that list.
Oh, I'm sure he has his own list.
I think that Tyler Perry
he needs a list of his
actually
own.
has his own Illuminati, because like I feel like
the sort of BET weird like cult crowd or whatever.
well,
There was like a Boondocks episode about it.
I was so surprised at how fucking successful that guy is, man. Like he's like got crazy money.
Same
He's
here.
got crazy money. Like, everybody takes the piss out of those films.
Yeah.
Culturally, like it's kind of a meme.
Garbage. Yeah.
It's a meme, like how bad those films are.
Yeah.
Yet they are so successful.
Yeah.
And he like to the point where he basically, there was a big article where he talks about cancelling like an $800 million film studio that he was building.
No way.
Because he saw some early AI film shit.
Wow.
I'm just like, this is cooked. Not gonna bother.
Oh wow.
Don't just cancel.
Wow.
Don't.
Well, that's
fucking
what he does. He makes like mass-produced shit, basically. So
It's gonna do him wonders.
Medea
There's enough-
generated by AI.
There's enough Medea material out there.
to feed into the fucking. I
to
wouldn't be
generate
surprised.
him new Medea
His
movies.
scripts literally read like they're fucking generated by ChatGPT. So there you go.
I've never watched one in my life. I only like am aware as an English person of Medea films from South Park.
That was your first exposure.
And then the more American comedians you see sort of like reference anything Medea, it's like, oh no, everybody universally thinks this is fucking stupid. Yet like the guy has made so much money, he can like make like a cancel an $800 million investment. Like that's wild to me.
Meghan and Harry stayed in his house as well when they ran away. You know, he gave haven to a prince. Like he's like a Saudi billionaire, like pretty much.
He's like a treason. He's basically done treason, and he's wanted by the crown.
Pretty much. But yeah, anyway, moving on to our next topic for the evening, which is.
Can't hear me, sorry.
There we are.
My fucking mouse hit the button by accident.
Naughty.
Because your drink is here. Let's move things away.
Yeah, sorry. Moving on to our next topic for the night. Speaking of AI, OpenAI has been criticized by Edward Snowden. He's did he write a polemic or something, or was it just like a tweet? Or
he didn't write a polemic. Basically, I'll play this clip. I don't think too much of it will be explained in the clip, because I just want to play the bit of like Edward Snowden and like his reaction to it. But basically, OpenAI appointed this guy who used to run the NSA in 2018 until 2023, until recently, and he's now like the head of their board of AI safety and like all of this stuff. And so it's given Edward Snowden the biggest fucking heckles of his life. He's like I'll just play the clip. Hang on.
Here's Edward Snowden, the Edward Snowden, still, I believe, living in Russia after being wanted for crimes in the United States, after he leaked a lot of data about the amount of information that the NSA has access to. So this is a quick primer on Snowden. So he wrote this in 2021. He said, 8 years ago, my life began. I was a climbing careerist in the American intelligence community, a former CIA officer, and an NSA contractor, until I discovered that my work and the work of my generation had, in secret, been turned towards the construction of history's first truly global system of mass surveillance, a machine dedicated to building perfect and permanent records of our private lives. I'll link his essay down in the description below. Wait, there's an FBI San Diego field office? Actually, I'm not going to link anything. You can find it yourself.
So that guy is called Wes Roth, by the way, on the old YouTubes. He does fantastic updates on AI kind of news as it breaks and stuff. And the fact that he picked up on this I thought was very interesting. And the fact that Edward Snowden has just completely disowned and trashed OpenAI, I think is something to definitely take note of. And I've been someone that's been pretty supportive of like Sam Altman's approach to the technology, from his interviews and from my experience of using the technology and everything else. And I've got super fucking doubts about it now.
I'm surprised. I'm absolutely like surprised that it took him this long and that this was the final straw for him on AI, on OpenAI. Sorry, I think it's weird that this is the thing that made him be like, oh. It like there's so many things, like even it like leaving being a publicly owned thing. I think that's the moment where people should have been.
Well, them not sharing the source and doing whatever and not being open as OpenAI as a fucking meme or a joke or whatever the fuck. Like
those things aren't superfluous.
That's like one
at all.
No, it's not superfluous, but that is like one thing. I guess it is like an entirely different thing when you get like the head of what you would perceive as like the biggest, most kind of egregious abuse of human rights, basically, in people's privacy, and the person that like executed a lot of that now is like on your board for the safety. Shit. That's like going to give you the more heckles than just we've partnered with Microsoft and all these things which don't have any kind of direct government tie or anything like that.
No shit.
Now,
no
all of a
shit,
sudden,
though.
it's like, that's like really concerning.
No shit, though, because the whole ethos since the beginning has been like rapid acceleration without any sort of like, you know, consideration for the consequences, especially once it became private. That is when you saw all of this stuff kind of accelerate. So I'm surprised it took him this long to come out and say anything regarding.
Well, he talks at a lot of
OpenAI.
different sort of tech events. I'm not sure entirely why. I think he gets kind of pinned down as a tech guy because NSA was using technology to spy on everybody and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why he now gets to speak as like all these tech, because he speaks at tech crypto stuff before that kind of all done, and he like openly basically mocked all of them when he was like asked to speak at these big crypto conventions and all this kind of stuff. And it was just sort of like, why are you, I guess it's just a Czech, he's in Russia, it's kind of hard to, you know, get your shit going or whatever.
Maybe.
But it was just like, I think that now that not only that, like the whole deleting our conversation about the songs as
The racist song.
as harmless and like silly as that was also like super
Ominous.
strange and
Yeah.
questionable.
Yeah.
And like I found the Digimon game, which confirmed to me I don't make up fake memories. So I have a lot more trust in my brain that was a real thing that happened.
Well, I was also there to corroborate it.
No, but we get stoned together, and so sometimes that's not always.
So our
like,
brains are like compromised.
That's not always like that's the first thing everybody always says to me is like, oh, but you were stoned though, weren't you? It's like, well, yeah, of course I was. And it's like, well, now I can't trust anything you say. We're like, okay, but I don't have fake memories, and my brain isn't mush. That was the point I was trying to
Oh
make.
my
So
God.
it 100% happened, and they fucking deleted that shit. And now my boy Edward Snowden's like, don't trust OpenAI. It does make
number
me.
one. I'm number one. I guess Edward Snowden has credibility in the sense that he's whistleblown on things that were important in the past.
Yeah.
But since then, I don't really care about him or his opinion that much.
I see him as someone that stood by his principles to the point that he is internationally unsafe. And that is a really brave thing to do that not many people have done. And so if
I
he
understand
feels
that,
the
but
need,
I don't
if he
think-
feels the need to speak up about something or anything, I'm going to listen to him. It's the same thing as like Michael Burry fucking being talking badly about the economy or whatever else now. The guy that called The Big Short and did the whole thing and made all
Yeah,
that
I
money.
guess, but
If he's there like, yo, this fucking stuff's going to happen and in a couple of years you're all going to be fucked and inflation's going to go crazy, I'm going to listen to Michael Burry because he's fucking like done it.
No one's like an oracle. And just because someone's right about one thing doesn't mean that they're automatically clued in or right about other things. If that was the case, then like, why hasn't Michael Burry made any like big mega fucking?
He has. He's made bear money since. But
all right. With regard, I don't know anything about him. But when it comes to Edward Snowden, the reason I'm skeptical is because I think it's strange that it took him this long to, voice skepticism about AI in general, or even you'd think that at this point he would be talking about the like surveillance capabilities of AI his primary thing and sort of warning people about that. But he's going and talking to crypto people and doing all this other goofy shit.
Well, he's not talking to crypto people anymore because no one's having crypto conferences anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that also coincided, but he definitely gave them like a big fuck you message the last time I saw him do one of those.
But like doing edgelord shit like that,
And he was recently talking at an AI convention with this other public, technology sort of figure or whatever, Ben Goetz or whatever his name is. And so he's in those spaces all the time, but I don't know if he's ever kind of been as completely blunt and like harsh about just there's no mincing the words within that tweet.
Yeah.
It's exactly kind of what needs to resonate within you, not like something that needs, not like a 30-minute talk that you need to listen to comprehend the whole thing, which is basically every time he talks, because he gets so few opportunities to actually kind of relay anything in like a concise way that a lot of people are going to see. Like it ends up you having to watch like an entire Joe Rogan interview or like, they need to clip him better. They really need to give Edward Snowden better clips. But like he's fucking got such a good sharp tweet on that, or X or whatever the fuck you call it. What do you call it? You just call it a kiss? Like, what is it? I'm so confused.
You call it
But yeah, I feel like I do want to try and find other AI products that are not
OpenAI
OpenAI and
related.
ChatGPT and stuff like that, because there are a whole bunch of other ones that you can access. It's just like,
But who's to say that they're not, doing other insidious data harvesting
well, other
things?
ones are open source.
Okay, okay.
So the Grok
Okay.
one that Musk released is open source. The Lambda 3 or whatever it was that Facebook or Meta released is open source.
Open source, okay.
A whole bunch of people are making large language models which don't have the kind of barriers and stuff on that OpenAI have already done.
Well, Grok,
which is already a philosophical kind of qualm with it as well, because it's kind of like trying to basically put all these baby guard. It's trying to put, like, imagine the internet was released as it is now from the beginning. Because they put all these like made sure and just ushered everybody into these 5 websites just to make sure that they can fucking control everybody and do everything like from the beginning. Like that's kind of like
what
how
OpenAI
is trying to do with the
yeah.
way that you're engaging with the technology.
Yeah.
From my experience with it, at the very least. Whereas if you have an open source thing, it will very literally be limited to the things and restrictions that are either technologically there or that you have yourself put into it.
That's one thing I guess to watch out for, is like avoiding using the software that's like doing this sort of insidious harvesting. Like I think last week we talked about,
I mean, it's got my CV.
I think last week we talked about Photoshop and how they basically with their new update have disclosed that they are using the intellectual property to train AI basically.
Yeah, kind of. Like the result of that was that it's been there for 4 years, but now that everybody is really concerned with this and it's a topic of discussion, that when you now scroll past the terms and services and you see something of those words pop out at you now, whereas you would just scroll past them in the past, and everybody now goes, oh, what? They're gonna do what?
Well,
and
it's something to be mindful of, I guess, is like
go.
trying to find ways of circumventing these like weird things if you're gonna use the technology.
It's part of.
But I don't think you're gonna be able to do that for very long. But you can try now, I guess.
It's
tricky.
It's a strange thing, because like, should there be any guardrails on it? It's kind of the same sort of like it's almost like a copyright or free internet sort of argument, right? Like the Pirate Party advocates for complete free speech on the internet, and whilst that is like agreeable philosophically, that means complete free speech. So like, pedophiles can make a website and go and talk about pedophilia with each other, and like that's totally fine. You can't shut that down because that's free speech. Like that's like to the level that you, like, so it's like how ideologically do you think that AI should be free and
well,
open
I definitely
in that way?
don't think they should be hiring ex-NSA people to be the AI safety.
There are some easy.
Like, we could start with that maybe.
There are some easy assumables about the situation, right? Where like, should you be able to generate porn with it?
Yeah.
Should you be able to generate images of public figures with it?
But I don't
should
think
you
it's that,
like all of
I
these
don't-
like very basic things, basically, that which. How far do you go to the point where you go, no, this technology should have no barriers, and we should have unfettered access to it?
I think it's quite like sort of dishonest the way that the question is presented a lot of the time, because it's presented in this like really binary way, where it's either you have the NSA people at the helm of the safety, or it's like fucking a free for all where people are making like horse porn or whatever the fuck. And I don't think it's either or. I don't think that I think those are both nightmare scenarios.
I'm saying like which of those assumes like those are all bad things to me. I would assume that they would be good guardrails that you would just put in place, and most normal moral people wouldn't object to those.
Well, these are the debates
which for you are like, oh, those are the assumed ones for me.
Well, I don't know. These are the debates that we should be having, but like when it comes to OpenAI's model, we're not even allowed to have the debate.
Someone else is having the debate.
Someone else is
you.
having the debate for you, which is what I think is wrong.
The chat says one guideline: thou shalt not create a machine the image of mankind.
Exactly, but Larry and Jihad. I've
But-
got my
so-
Bene Gesserit outfit on.
I
today.
like this idea. However, I already see how people are going to get around that. Okay, like people are going to make robots that look like the fucking machines in the Matrix,
Oh my god.
and then it's like, well, there you go. It's not in mankind. It's an octopus squid machine kind. So it's
Oh my God.
not, and it's got AI and it's more smart and more powerful than you. So now everybody wins, and we've not broken the law.
Oh god. Anyway, moving on to the next topic. Speaking of technological acceleration, we have kind of a petri dish situation here where a remote Amazonian tribe was sort of linked up to the internet for the first time using Elon Musk's Starlink satellite. And it's like an interesting case study of what happens when a, pretty, like, I don't know if they're hunter-gatherers or if they're farmers, I'm not sure. But they live a pretty kind of trad, ancient lifestyle. And they were sort of rapidly exposed to modern technology, and some things went down. Should we show the clip? Oh, I think our faces are blocking it.
No, it's not. It's all good. Immediately on TikTok.
To the outside world.
Agora, e a maioria é o povo tão feliz, né, para entrar em contato com família, tudo isso, mas eu mesmo tô com feliz porque essa é a aldeia que Nova Esperança, que é muito distância, é difícil para acessar, é difícil não comunicar, aí eu tô com minha família, né, de vez em quando eu entrei em contato com minha família, né, para saber como é que tá, para saber a família, né, porque a gente fica longe, a gente se preocupa.
I don't know. I didn't think
Aí sim a gente tem sonho futuro isso, para até formar engenheiro civil, geólogo, arquitetura, próprio ser advogado, pode ser enfermagem, pode ser e administração, áreas várias.
A internet ajuda muito, né, para comunicar, mas do outro lado, né, a internet traz uma juventude para não fazer atividades tradicionais, né, para não ajudar a mãe. Quando a mãe faz atividade, fazer roça e chama e não vai por causa do celular, né, e assistir o vídeo, isso é muito preocupante, né.
And that's very worrying, isn't it? I mean, so that's like a PG news report
Yeah, that's
from like
constantly overwhelmed. That's
all the
not the
fucking white chicks coming on my screen. What the fuck is that?
that's a PG report, but the X-rated report is that a lot of them got like addicted to porn, and a lot of them also got really depressed because of social media as well, and it kind of wreaked havoc. And village elders and stuff had to start imposing limits.
That's what the nice way of what they put in there was like, oh, so now only the teachers and village elders have access to the phones and the internet access at night, because basically all the other people were jacking it way too much and like not doing the things they needed to do in the village to keep it sustaining.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting that the minute the internet was induced, of course, like people looked for porn like immediately.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Like
I wonder what effect it had on the social structure of the village as well, because there wasn't too much information on that. Only that like the village elders were disturbed by like what was happening.
and that I guess some people saw, like from what he said in there, like the benefit of the communication and all the opportunities and information that's available to them now, but that it's a challenge with a traditional way of life, basically.
Yeah, big time. And it's also like a really rapid acceleration as well. Like we are struggling as people who have like been adjusting to the modern world for a lot longer. We struggle psychologically with this stuff, like let alone these people. It's like almost like an alien intelligence is like descended upon them. And yeah, it's already having like a psychic effect and a cultural effect as well. Yeah, I feel sorry for the people who are gonna have to go through that, because they don't have as many, I guess, safeguards, because they're not used to it.
It's just like it's like you watch out of morbid curiosity, but you kind of know what's going to happen. Don't
Yeah.
you? It's like it's like that science experiment you hear about. It's like, well, we did this thing for science, of course, where we put a bottle full of cocaine in with the rats, and we put just a bottle full of lemon juice in with the rats, and we wanted to see which one of them they preferred.
Yeah.
And to everybody's surprise, they really like the cocaine water. And we watched these rats go at this cocaine water for about 2 hours, fight each other until the death, and then the experiment was over. It's like, you didn't do that for science.
No, you did it for
that
fun.
because that was you were morbidly curious about what they would do on cocaine.
It does.
And like it feels like that's kind of
It does
what's
sound.
happening
It
here.
does sound like some kind of morbid experiment for sure. Like that's why I called it a petri dish at the beginning. And it does ignite your morbid curiosity. But this isn't the first time where a remote tribe has been affected by modern culture in a weird way. There's like a thing called cargo cults. Have you ever heard of these?
No.
So these like remote islands, I'm not sure if it was like in the Australias or New Guinea or somewhere, I don't know. But basically British ships had contact with them. And bought them food and guns and blah, 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 all that sort of thing. And they basically made them gods.
Nice.
And on some of these islands, Prince Charles is like a god.
That's Prince Philip.
Oh, is it Prince Philip?
Yeah, I know this. This is in like New Guinea or whatever.
They like
where
worship him.
Yeah.
They worship him as a god. And they make like replicas of
Pretty cool.
modern
and, like,
objects.
It's so uniquely kind of not maybe unique actually. I'm sure maybe there's like a Belgian prince somewhere as well that's like worshipped in some part
There's
of like,
quite a few cargo cults. Like look up cargo cults in your spare time. It's a really weird thing where this sort of modern stuff has been introduced to these remote tribes, and then they start to kind of like
sounds familiar.
Make fetishes and all sorts of things out of it. So weird.
Sounds familiar.
What do you mean sounds familiar?
Maybe we're a cargo cult.
Oh, for God's sake, here we go. Oh my God, here we go with your alien gods bullshit. Jesus.
Well, you never know, bro. That's kind of the
Someone
point,
says
right?
cargo cults all the way. Yes, literally.
It's cargo cults all the way down. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. We are a cargo cult.
No,
it's cargo cults all the way down,
it's
baby.
not cargo cults
Everyone's
all
like,
the way down.
look at all of these other examples of all these abandoned people with their crazy things. Then they worship these things and think they're crazy gods. And like, look at all of us with all the things that are popping off now.
It's not cargo cults all the way down. I don't have such a pessimistic view of things.
We's a cargo cult.
And I also think, because I think if Prince Philip was asked about his cargo cult, and instead of him to be like, oh, those poor souls, somebody enlighten them. Like he then like
make sure you pack some McVitie's and baked beans next time. Give them the British stuff, the good stuff.
He was like happy about it. Like he was lording over them like some kind of demiurge.
It's great. It's like, we must visit them again. They were so nice to me.
Like it's awful. If I had a cargo cult, I would want to be like a Sophia figure and enlighten the people and not pretend to be like a false god over them.
I would be like an Anunnaki and like get like a robot suit or something to make me super strong, and then do crazy feats of like amazing strength in front of all the people.
Of course you would.
And solidify my position as the godhead of their
Oh
world.
my God. Jake would make himself the Gilgamesh like ancestor of like the fucking.
I feel like that would be a lot more fun
No, dude, I would
than
try to
trying to be like, oh, I'm Patrick Stewart in
yes,
Star Trek.
exactly. Patrick Stewart in Star Trek. That's what I would try to do.
I don't want to rebalance your equilibrium. Forget. I'll invent some device that makes you forget I was ever here. I'll take away all those Guns and McVitie's biscuits I gave you.
Yeah, exactly.
Rubbish.
That's
I
what
say.
you do.
I'll give them Guns and McVitie's biscuits, and I'll
and
fucking-
watch Havoc
and
like
give them
go around.
amphetamines and
Access to porn.
and access to porn, a set of DJ decks, and we'll see how it goes.
Access to porn, a set of DJ decks. Amphetamines, condoms, just like make a Guna cave basically, and tell them to have at it. But yeah, I think it's pretty.
Just make it Firefest. Just make it actual Firefest, but with me as the king, god of this sort of like North Korean style place where there's just always a party.
You see, Jake is the evil alien, whereas I'm the nice alien that would try to enlighten your consciousness and like elevate you. Whereas Jake is like the fucked up evil alien that will like harvest you for loosh.
Well, I feel like the alien cargo cult thing at the moment is bad because it's like, oh, we need to like transcend into robots and do all of this crazy stuff to be like, you know, the next evolution in all of this crazy other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I'm just saying we should like make it like a party culture, but with me as the god that gets to decide all the playlists and what drugs we're all taking. Like, I feel like that's a way better deal.
It's not a bad bet. It's a way better deal
That's
than
a way better deal
the other
than satanic.
immunizations of the escatons that are being offered.
Exactly.
I think Jake's version is pretty cool. I'll take it.
It's way more fun, way more exciting.
I'll take it. But yeah,
way more jungle music.
But yeah, the in terms of this Brazilian tribe and their like newly found like porn addiction or whatever, it'd be really interesting to study the effect it's having on their brains. Because there's a lot of people who deny that porn has any effect on the brain. And like you have this fresh Amazonian tribe. I'm not saying that we should use. I know I sound like a.
But I feel like that's a unique kind of situation in itself.
What do you mean?
Like,
I think we should study their brains. Is all I'm saying. What do you mean?
Do you want to get out your head measuring device?
No, I don't mean. That's
to
not.
go down to
not
the
in
tribe
that way.
and
I'm not saying
study
in that.
them.
I'm not saying in that way.
I feel like my party pat adventure is way less creepy than your head measuring
more
device.
Wholesome than me going there and studying them.
Oh yes, very interesting.
I'm an anthropologist at heart. I can't help it.
Doing your best Ava Braun impression.
Oh my god! Jeez, that's not. That's not where we're going
In
with
South
this.
America, yeah.
Oh my god! That's
We
not-
all escaped there.
No, no, stop it. Stop being bad. That's not what I was implying at all. I'm just saying it would be interesting to see the effects that rapid exposure to like graphic pornography is
How big are
having.
their noses?
No, oh my goodness. Goodness, stop it. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what like rapid exposure to pornography is doing to the brains of like the people of this tribe and what it could tell us about like us. So
someone said, I bet they were already making their own porn before the uplink came along.
There was someone who
People
said,
make a lot of porn.
there was someone who said on Twitter that the Venus of Willendorf figure was ancient pornography. And I took a lot of offense to that because it's a goddess icon that represents fertility. I don't care what anyone says. That's what it is.
Well, it's that thing, I guess, isn't it? It's like, do you believe that we have these like, you know, alignment with these like higher principles and ideals about fertility and like kind of the meaning of like, you know,
Of course we do.
nurturing life and stuff? Or are we base horny monkeys that can make crude clay figures with tits to masturbate
to? See the difference.
Because like I feel like those are the two perspectives you
No.
have of man, isn't it? It's
You can
like,
see the difference between ritual objects and that feature nudity or sexual themes and pornographic objects like the wall paintings in Pompeii, for instance, were obviously pornographic, whereas like the Venus of Willendorf has like ritualistic, symbolic like elements to it. It's not like meant to arouse. And if you're aroused by that, then you're fucking.
We have someone in the chat that's offered to be your interpreter for your, South American head measuring research.
You want to be my first subject? Is this a fetish? Is this a fetish?
We found a new Patreon tier.
Have we found a new Patreon tier?
A combination of OnlyFans and Patreon where we
Where I measure your head.
do what's that horrible fake science practice called?
I don't know, fucking phonology.
Yeah, phrenology or whatever.
The phrenology tier.
Don't shame my phrenology kink.
Where I literally dress up like a 19th century phonologer and measure your head.
Very interesting. The dimples
I'll
on
do
the
it.
back
I'll do it for
are of keen interest.
I'll do it. I'll definitely do that. That's respectable.
No, I don't goon no more.
Oh my goodness, gross.
There we go.
Gross.
There we go. You got rejected.
Well, if anyone else wants their head measured, I'm offering services now. But yeah, I would definitely be curious to see how it's affecting their brains, and also how much time they're spending on the porn, and if it's gotten to the point where they are neglecting.
Do you think they're spending money on the porn? That's what you're saying.
No, time, not money.
Oh, right.
How much time they're spending
So
on the porn, and whether or not it's interfering with their like day to day. Like, are they actual addicts?
Well, they can't like stop wanking.
Yeah. Have they become fully addicted?
Like, oh, you're supposed to be weaving the baskets, and you've just been jacking off in your heart all day. Like, you think that's what's going on?
Yeah, some version of that, some variation of that is what I suspect is happening.
It is an intro. I mean, that is definitely like a kind of Mighty Boosh level kind of sketch that's playing out in my head right now.
Oh my god.
Someone
Someone did Angie's Etsy calipers. Look, yeah, I would definitely have Etsy I would do the whole costume, everything.
It'd be the Coconut Joe episode. All the coconuts are just like looking at their phones, just like jacking
off ferociously. Oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
That's a really sad image. We need to go to the Amazon and save their souls. We don't need to study them. We need to we need to go like old school missionaries, take them the truth of Christ, take away the iPhones.
I think we should give them all Apple spatial headsets so that they can do their work at the same time as looking at porn, and then they can get one of those Chinese sucky devices. And then they're all taken care of.
How to completely destroy a fucking culture. It's
Do you
just
think
fucking helicopter drop a bunch of flashlights?
Oh my god, that's actually such a strat, isn't it?
Apple head devices.
Like if they did Vietnam again.
Oh my god.
There'd be no Agent Orange or anything.
Oh
it would just be like first they drop just litter the fields with in villages with iPhones. And then the next step is to get the fucking the sucky devices, and then all their men will just be too distracted to fight the war, and they'll just be in their huts like getting sucky from the machine.
Oh my god, this is how civilization ends. It's so sad.
That's why Mark Zuckerberg's making all those cheap Meta masks.
Yep.
And so that they can litter third world countries and give them sucky machines.
That's how it's all gonna end.
And that's the next age of warfare.
In a wave of cum and sadness.
It is.
It's so sad.
It's cum warfare.
Oh man, those poor people. Somebody really ought to intervene, I think.
You just got such a sweetheart, haven't you? It's already done. The damage is done. It's cooked. You can't go back.
I think you can.
No.
I think there's hope. I don't think that we should resign them to.
The youngest ones will be going to lids and fucking,
They'll be dabbing.
Yeah, they'll be giving it the big dabs.
Playing Fortnite. Oh no.
And talking about Riz.
Oh no.
And being and all the
save the babies.
And talking about all the Andrew Tateisms.
If I was there, I would just go deeper into the forest. I would take my baby and run deeper into the forest.
You see it even in all the TLC shows and stuff, don't you? Like there was that poor boy that spent all his money on that house in the Philippines and then got that girl pregnant.
Oh my god.
And she was like, I'm a traditional Catholic Filipino girl, and she was just completely shaking her butt on TikTok for fucking money or whatever.
It started even in Nigeria now, it's been around for a while. There's this trans influencer called Bob Risky who sleeps with politicians and brags about it and stuff.
But do they though?
Social media and third world culture, it's a very toxic mix. TikTok has ruined Nigeria, that's for sure. It's like such a huge thing there.
You can't go to the markets anymore
No, you can't. You
because
can't.
everyone's shooting video.
Yeah, everyone's like, got their phones out. It's a nightmare. It's a fucking nightmare. Everyone's trying to be an influencer now. Yeah, that intersection.
The indigenous people of my country went through enough. Just stop. I feel like that's
I'm sorry.
that's fair enough, bro. I think
Sorry, bro.
that is fair enough.
I'm
but
sorry.
I also think that like those specific ones is cooked. They can't go back. The influence has already been done.
Oh man.
Because they're all there excited about they're going to be engineers and nurses and all the information they're going to learn.
That's the other half of it is the fact that it.
But
despite the negatives,
but they can't do any of those things because they
'cause they're
can't
too
stop
busy
jacking off.
It's the dilemma of the 21st century. We're all victims of it.
We actually had the non-psyop version of that, so we were like introduced slowly.
But they're like the
Ish.
frogs. We were the frogs in the pot,
Slowly-ish.
and they're like the fucking.
Like I went for a pint with my brother.
lobsters.
I went for a pint with my brother and one of my best friends, which I've never met until like we went for a beer that time, and we were just chatting and whatever. And they both ended up talking about all the fucked up videos that you used to see on the internet like a long time ago, and how easily and how much people kind of almost boasted about seeing the most fucked up thing on the internet.
Millennial rite of passage.
Whereas like that doesn't really exist now, and all those sorts of things are very like sort
No.
of shut down and heavily policed, as they like fairly should be.
Yeah.
in all honesty.
Yeah.
But it's also just like we kind of talk about like, oh yeah, we were like let in gently with the internet. It's like, no you weren't. We were on the like the internet like yes, cute Club Penguin days, but also like, yeah, dude, fucking brutal gore days
True,
where people
but
just
we
like
still-
bang, look at that.
we still kind of grew up in modern society in that sense, being in sort of an indigenous society and then having that sort of technology suddenly thrust upon you is going to have such a it's like literally giving like someone acid without telling them, like a fucking heroic dose of acid. It's going to change your brain, everything. And as much as, you know, like for instance in Nigeria, I see how much internet exposure and like at least 2 decades of that has like really elevated, you know, the exposure and the culture in people's minds. But there's also a lot of negativity that's come out of it as well. And it's hard to even get to the positive when you're tempted by distraction. And it seems as if immediately everyone just started making goon caves.
Well, do you know what I think as well is that the technology that you introduce those kinds of people to is too non-specific. So what I mean by that is like if you had like the village dude who was like the musician or whatever for all of the ceremonies and whatever, and he's doing his thing on the logs and the bones and his mushrooms he's playing drums on and all the crazy shit that they do or whatever, his little handmade instruments and stuff, and then you just sat down with him for a day with the push and you're like, look, bang, that's how you do it. Look, it makes a loop, does this. Look, you can do effects, it does all of this. It'll just be like, oh my god, and like it would just fucking like blow your fucking mind, and then like that would be like a whole fucking renaissance for like those people and all the music they make and all the stuff. But because like or anything you put that like with hunting tools, with like you know, things to make houses, with like technology for building, with like anything that would be very specific to like a either art form or something. I'm not. Do you know
that
what
could
I'm trying?
elevate
Do you know what
something
I'm trying
that
to
they already
articulate?
have familiarity with.
Almost like a pillar of civilization, I would say, like the arts, or like something that is very hyper focused on like something around that. Yeah. Not just. I mean, the information is definitely a pillar of civilization, but I think that the internet doesn't just provide you information.
No.
It provides you ways to waste your time. Games, like all of these sort of other things, porn and all these other things, which maybe aren't sort of like natural, arguably, and all these sorts of things, right?
I mean,
so like,
what do you mean by natural?
I mean, you're still thinking about like the wench you saw at the tavern or whatever, with where her ankles were exposed or whatever, you know, like back in Victorian times, like ooh, like when you were like in your fucking bed at night or whatever the fuck, or if you got like a quiet moment to yourself somewhere. You know, so it's also like, again, it's even the same. It's even the same with what we were saying with the P Diddy stuff. If there wasn't the urge for it, it wouldn't fucking exist. Mm-hmm. And so like it's part of human nature, unfortunately. So that's why I say are debatably natural, because it is in the fact that it is an urge we have, and it wouldn't exist if we didn't have that natural urge to film each other fucking and for us to also watch each other fucking. Like
Well, I
that
think
is
we have
that
the urge.
that is a compellent force in the human
I don't
psyche.
think that's. I think we have the urge to come.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's the. I don't think it's necessarily the urge to watch people fuck, because that's like weird in and of itself. And I think people do it to come.
I think people maybe it's to see arousing or erotic or like sexual material
to feed your erotic imagination,
Yeah.
basically, or to have some form of erotic imagination.
that is like a natural urge. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Not like trying to make like porn occurs in nature. Like, but
the Venus of Willendorf is actually pornographic.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
But
Yeah.
yeah. So I think if you with those people, if you had technology that was for like farming technology or anything that was like specific around something that they do, that would like have a tremendously more positive effect than if you gave them something like a blanket technology, like a smartphone, like a thing like access to the internet, which does not provide a honed, limited thing that is far propellant within that field, if you know what I mean.
Definitely.
Like
I like their makeup too. They should like film tutorials on TikTok.
I mean, it looks like they just kind of smush their hands in some sort of paste and they kind of go like that.
It's still cool though. They can elevate it. Market it as a blush and like sell it.
It's a pretty quick, short, easy TikTok makeup tutorial.
I mean, they could market it as a blush and I would buy it for sure.
Do you know what would be... I've thought of another hilarious sketch with indigenous people.
Oh my god!
Is it like,
didn't Jay George tell you that they've suffered enough?
No, is that they like found a completely untouched one for the first time ever or whatever for years in like the Amazon somewhere. They go and interview them, and they all sound like Scousers, and they have just like really thick North English accents.
North English accent.
Oh, what are you doing here? Like it's just like complete like fucking.
Oh god.
Full like what do you even like Newcastle like Geordie fucking unintelligible.
Well, that shows your southern prejudice yet again. You're always
so funny.
You're always shitting on the northerners.
No, it's funny because even if you're in Manchester, it's like, what the fuck are you talking like me for? You're in the Amazon rainforest. But to me, it's funny because you also sound like a Manchester person.
Oh my god.
You sound like a northern monkey,
well,
but you also are in the Amazon jungle.
Well, moving our away from the rainy Amazon and the English north to Saudi Arabia. Our last topic for the evening is Neom, which I think we talked about briefly before. But obviously there have been some new developments in it, which is that obviously it's been a colossal failure. Who would have thought that a weird box made of like glass in the desert would have failed?
Well, they've adjusted the timelines. Okay.
It's gonna fucking fail.
And they've lowered the kind of expectations.
Of course. I mean, the video that they showed of it was like AI generated.
They've even done more AI generated ones to try and do more rounds of investment and all this kind of
and
stuff.
And all the shit
it.
That's like coming out of Saudi Arabia in terms of future planning and building projects sounds like something out of the mind of like someone who's drank a bunch of, like a rapper who's drank a bunch of lean. I mean, the last big thing I heard about was Kanye West designing a fucking city.
So it doesn't actually. Do you know what it sounds like to me?
What?
It sounds like the kind of perfect moralistic bragging rights that you could have if you were an elite socialite kind of event or party. So if you're like if chin wagging with like, it's the kind of what I'm talking about. It's like the difference of millionaires and billionaires or whatever, right? Like millionaires or people like actors are talking about roles and shit that they've done or whatever. If you're a fucking billionaire, what do you talk about? It's like how you're impacting the world and shit, basically. Like the Bill Gates and the fucking.
Well, how does this have any bragging rights?
Because on paper he's literally talking about building like a green energy eco city with like mental health fucking living standards and all of this stuff in mind. But that's what I'm talking about. As philanthropic bullshittery elite talking points, the Saudi people and all the people involved in this can go to those events and talk out their ass about all the good they're doing with this fucking Neom city thing.
I don't think it's that. I honestly think that it's an attempt to sort of attract gaudy, nouveau rich, middle class Westerners to the Middle East, and it's because obviously, and also that they're investing in green energy as well, because oil is, not going to be a thing hopefully soon, and if that happens, then they're going to be fucked because their entire economy is dependent on that, which is why they're so obsessed with the whole green thing. And they also want to sort of advertise themselves as a cool place for Westerners to come to visit, to spend money, to boost their economy, because they don't know how long they're going to be able to keep surviving on oil. So I really think that that's what's like leading it, and why everything that they are advertising and doing looks so cheap and gaudy, and like it's supposed to kind of appeal to that kind of weird globalist, expat, fucking nouveau rich Westerner taste, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. It definitely reeks of like it would appeal to all the kind of fucking elite children that hang out at the like elite daycare
and people who want to like be
Soho
influencers
House
as
type
well.
places and all that kind of shit, right?
Elite daycare is a good way of putting it, for sure.
Where they can dump all their like rich children off and know that they're going to be fed well, and they're going to be surrounded by good other children of good standing and families.
Yes, exactly. And that there's a chef on call and all of that fucking
There'll only
shit.
be good cocaine supplies. None of that fentanyl cut stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know?
None of that awful street stuff.
So I don't like. I know what you mean, and
I don't think
that,
it has. I think maybe the environmental stuff has some
that's what I'm
kind of
saying.
liberal bragging right point or whatever, but I
That's
don't
what
think
I'm
that that's the full picture.
What it stinks of to me is Ghislaine Maxwell giving speeches about the oceans. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of bullshittery that someone would be kind of involved in to sort of have some kind of moralistic bragging rights or whatever. I do get what you mean, and I think like on paper that is exactly what it's supposed to be. Is this sort of like, oh, we're building this new place and we want it to be seen as like a global city and all of that kind of stuff for like the world to come and be involved in. This is like a new way of life and all the ways that they're kind of pitching it and stuff. But
like, look at what's
everybody's
happening
just got such a bad taste in their mouth with like the culture of Saudi Arabia that it makes them just go, bro, you gotta fix so much shit before anyone's gonna even remotely consider
and then also
doing any of that.
They are pushing some indigenous tribe off of the land where Neom is being built, and they one of the people who was protesting against it was executed.
Well, they were making videos about you're kicking out all of us like tribal people from this site to build this crazy new thing, and then he got shot and killed. So that's how they deal with things in Saudi Arabia. And I think that's kind of also part of what makes people very hesitant to take their lives over there, and so that you would
even then, if it's like Fire Fest, like they're fucking advertising it and it has all the nouveau rich trappings, a lot of people are sort of willing to overlook a lot. And it's the same thing with Dubai, for instance. Like, Dubai is such a huge holiday exploration, despite the fact it's a gaudy monstrosity that was built on slave labor.
Well, what is disappointing about it for me, I think, is like it feels like the whole of the Western world is going through like a housing crisis. Like, it's happening in every country, every major Western country in the world.
You think that their plan is to ship us all to fucking Middle East and live in the pods in the desert or whatever?
Maybe that's the strat. Eat the bugs in the desert. Like,
eat the bugs in the desert.
Maybe that's the strat. But like what I was saying is, like, I find it so disappointing that the only country that is actually like has some kind of crazily ambitious plan to build like a mega futuristic sci-fi level city with all of this next level infrastructure is this fucking like proper fucking crazy country in the middle of the fucking desert. Like,
that has like a prince.
Like, France has a lot of space. Can we build one in France? Like, that would be. I don't really like Parisians, but as long as they don't come, I don't mind the rest of the French. Like, we could give that a go. Like, why don't we build one? Why don't we build another futuristic city next to Birmingham or something? Like, why?
It's
why
called Milton Keynes. It exists already.
We'll try again and not do it like Milton Keynes. Like, I feel like no, but that was the point. Like, even Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes at the time, yes, it ended up bad, and
for the Americans watching, don't
Google Milton Keynes. Just Google Milton Keynes.
It's just
in the UK. It's such a horrible eyesore of a fucking. But my point was, at the beginning, like, the reason that Milton Keynes even exists is because at some point we decided we need to build new towns and cities because we have a growing population. And we need places for these for people to fucking live. And let's do a really ambitious thing. And we're going to do the American grid system and all these ideas which at the time were very futuristic and thought that they would hold up and stand the test of time. They every single decision they made would turn out to be awful and the wrong one for England and English infrastructure and making a beautiful city and all of the things that you would objectively want in a new city.
It's an ugly, cheap-looking
However,
Dubai knockoff.
My God, they fucking tried and they goddamn did it.
Yeah.
And I wish that someone would try that again and at least like with the same kind of chutzpah and
there's
the
another
ambitious.
one being built in the south of England, I believe. It looks like a millennial retirement home, and it's basically this quote unquote like community where they're building new houses for young people that have all these communal areas and like activities and stuff like that. There are all kinds of like weird experimental projects being done, but nothing.
Okay, but that already is going to smell to me of yummy mummy fucking entry price.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So that's like you're already talking upper middle class.
Yeah.
Fucking whatever the fuck. So it's not like it's not that, and that's kind of the whole point, right? Is like you're in a situation where you need a whole new. You've got cities worth of housing to build.
Yeah.
In every major place in the world, so why not build ambitious new cities in that kind of way? And it's really sucky to me that the only fucking country that is actually trying to even facadely doing that for moralistic bragging rights is Saudi Arabia. That fucking sucks.
What would it take for you to live in the desert in the pod?
I mean, dude, if they had that shit like Tatooine, and I could like, I could be pod racing and like fucking making my little gambling money in the cantina and shit, like I would be down.
They would have to relax their laws, at least in the places where foreigners like hang out.
I think if you, I don't know.
I could be a desert witch.
Why?
I think I could do. I could do desert witch.
I think if they went, I think they would have to secede an amount of power with it for it to really work. If they really did the full ambitious thing where like, look, we have this huge swathe of land in the middle of the desert where yes, there are a couple of these like tribal settlements and things, but we'll figure that out and actually treat them nicely and not shoot them. Right? Like, okay, maybe that's the bare minimum. Like, we have these swathes of fucking desert land. You know what we're going to do? We have all of this oil money. You know what we're going to do? We're going to make a new international country, which is run by every country which is interested in investing in this place and making it something new and something ambitious and all of these things. Great idea. You like it's no. I
don't want to be I don't want to be the guinea pig in there.
No, but that to me that's now it's.
I would let it run for like 50 years first.
Now it's an ambitious international project which is not governed by the laws of Saudi Arabia and is this new thing which could actually be some kind of crazy kind of like democratic. It's a new fresh start somewhere. It's like a possibilities is endless. It's a new world could be created in the desert. We have the technology to do all of that stuff. I'm not sniffing at any of those bits. It's just the ideology and the reasons and why it's being done and the people that are doing it. It's not going to be for any of those good reasons. And I'm not saying that if any Western government, it would also be from those old, lovely, wholehearted reasons. But I just wish that someone was trying in some kind of fucking fashion. Because it does feel like there is a crisis all across the world in regards to homelessness and housing and everything in that fucking category.
Someone should make Tatooine come true is basically what you're saying.
It'd be cool. It'd be really fucking cool. And I feel like you could, there's definitely like, I don't know, you'd have to figure out some maybe like Simpsons Dome type situation or something like that so you could like climate control it. Yeah. Because you can't live in the desert like that. Like, you're a human being, you're not a camel. Like, you're just not going to work. It's just...
No, I have Fremen blood. So I think I could handle it.
If I get like a constant stream of speed, like in my nose, like that, like a mixture of speed,
just
and
amphetamines,
speed and LSD, like just piped into your nose, like the Dune dudes, I feel like I could handle the desert. I feel like I could. It would be
you pinging around.
It'd be a totally different vibe, but I totally could do it. It would.
I could become a desert dweller.
That would be the ultimate like Dune replica experience.
Just pumping you full of amphetamines
is to
and LSD.
Go to Neom when it's fully built in Dune costume, but with the pipes that fill you full of LSD and amphetamines and then just exist for a month and see what happens.
We should make a trip of it.
When Neom's built
When
in
Neom's
20
finished
years.
whenever in the indefinite time.
Well, yeah, it's going to keep getting expanded out and out and out and out and all. I mean,
I don't think it's ever going to happen, in all honesty.
They've got a million mega projects which they've just not finished and fucked up in all these different ways,
There's
isn't it?
been so many abandoned projects. So fucking many abandoned projects. So I'm not necessarily optimistic
I don't know.
about.
Sorry for my utopic, silly rant. Those are the silly ideas I have about things that I feel like would genuinely have people engaged.
Yeah.
Like if there was literally someone that was like, here, I have basically Vinland. I have somewhere that is fertile, that is a massive unpopulated region of wherever the fuck, name a country, and we're gonna fucking give it up for this new experiment. Or whatever the
I don't
fuck
know
it
if I
would
want to
be
be part of any petri dish
Dude,
experiment, because
I feel like so many people
devolve. Look at the Amazon tribe. It could devolve into a Gunnar cave like that. Human nature is like a weird thing.
I feel like young people would be thirsty for an opportunity like that.
Young people are also thirsty for gooning as well these days.
That's why if they figure out the UFOs and shit, the whole space travel shit, everyone's just gonna be like, yep, fuck this. Let's go somewhere else.
No, I think that these sorts of social experiments with human beings, like experimentations of new ways with living, especially when it's interlaced with new technologies, like their weird 15-minute city thing. These things do have an effect on human nature, human psychology, the human brain, in the same way that the Amazon people are a petri dish. Anyone who would subject themselves to this sort of weird alternative living experiment in the desert is also...
Look, the whole 15-minute city thing got wrapped up in some WEF language during COVID or something.
Yeah.
But a 15-minute city is not a bad thing. It's actually
I'm not suggesting that
it's actually really good city design. If you've been able to design a city that you can achieve all the needs that you require within a 15-minute, like Amsterdam, basically. That's the only city I could think of where you can actually truly do that.
Yeah.
And it is. Everybody says Amsterdam is geniusly
it's beautifully
planned.
designed. I'm not saying that. I'm saying in terms of the way that they showed the design of it. A lot of it is mechanical, and you are in a specific quadrant or whatever, which has all the amenities that you need, so there's no reason to go anywhere else.
But at any time you can get to the other end in 20 minutes.
I don't know if I would trust
'cause you got hyperspeed zip.
I don't know if I would trust
doodads.
I don't know if I would trust
Mag
the
lines.
great architects of this weird tech prison to because the whole point, it reminds me, if you haven't read this novel, I highly recommend it because it's one of my favorites, J.G. Ballard's High Rise. Which is pretty much about this. It's a huge. He wrote it during the time in the in England in the 1980s, where they were sort of experimenting with this really dystopian social housing that was usually kind of built in brutalist style, and it had a really negative effect on the social kind of fabric in these communities, living on top of each other in these very sort of dense environments, kids not really having enough space to play, all of these different factors. So he wrote, High Rise as a way of exploring how living in these ways and the changing ways that people were starting to live in England was affecting the human psyche. And in High Rise, the building is designed specifically so you don't have to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And it's high tech, so you can leave, but it's designed to be so comfortable and convenient that you don't really need to.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't want to spoil anything. It kind of devolves into madness pretty quickly because we're not designed to live that way.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole point of keeping people contained in one place is, number one, social control, and, number two, to be able to make you a atomized consumer.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're presented with the illusion that you're free to leave, but things are so convenient that you wouldn't want to, then why not? It's like you were talking about with the Amazonian tribe and the porn. You can study to be a doctor, but why do that when you can just Coom,
Yeah, but then I think it is sort of it's that thing of it's the same thing with everybody right now. everybody could be either literally everybody in the Western world could be trying to achieve the things they're trying to achieve in life, or just jacking off at home.
Yeah.
Like that's the choice for literally
But it
everybody.
gets a lot harder to resist the
And
temptation
eventually most people go, all right, I feel disgusting. I need to like do something with my life now, and I need to try and what do I want to do? And they're like,
not
you know,
everyone
think
has,
about it.
not everyone has that internal sort of conviction.
Do you know that
which
not
is sad.
sorry, last point of thing that I'll bring up, and then we can sign off because this has been a long one. This freaked me the fuck out. Do you know that not everybody has an internal monologue?
I don't think that that's true. This has been a debate that has raged for a while.
There was like science
people are
papers and
looking
stuff
for
that I saw
attention.
about it. They were
People
like,
are just looking for attention. They're being histrionics. Everyone has.
I saw loads of people commenting on it underneath about it and being like, "Oh, finally, someone's talking about this. Like, I feel so represented.
No,
like, everyone thinks that I'm like a fucking idiot because I have to say things out loud because I like don't have a voice inside my head." And I was like, literally, that's just broken my fucking mind. I don't understand how your brain could work if you
there's
didn't
some people
like
who
have.
can't imagine. They can't visualize. Like
That
some people
fucks
have
me up as well. Like
a disorder where they can't visualize things and stuff.
That means a bit of your brain doesn't work.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Like no,
it's unfortunate. They might have heightened senses in other ways. But there are some people who struggle to visualize things.
They can't imagine the future, but they really remember the past.
Well, no, it's like if you were it's more like if you were to say like imagine an apple.
Yeah.
They would struggle to like
to visualize
an apple. And the thing is, for some
people
people can visualize an apple like in a very detailed fashion. Some people it's sort of abstract. Some people don't see anything at all. So perhaps when it comes to the internal monologue, for some people it's really loud, like me. And for some people it's like mid, and for others it doesn't exist at all.
It's not even, I never consider it loud or quiet. It's just part of how my brain functions.
Yeah.
It's part of the process of thinking about something.
Yeah.
It's part of the process of like trying to understand something.
Yeah.
Is like thinking about it and not
head.
like saying things out loud so that you can like think about something. Like I can't even comprehend how you would think about something if you can't visualize and you don't have an internal monologue. Is your inside your brain is literally like Homer Simpson meme with the fucking like monkey with the symbols just going.
Well, that's external now because you don't need an internal monologue when you can do this and you can scroll and like this.
But people like that are walking around, right? Like normal, they're walking around like normal people, and they can vote and everything. Like that's fucking wild.
Yeah.
To me, like I almost feel like if you're not gassing people up for attention, as you say, and all of that kind of thing, if people actually exist like that, they are a different kind of human being.
Well, no, I think it's more about
like you have a different brain.
I think it's more about potential, which is why I brought up the High Rise novel. It shows how living in that sort of environment of convenience sort of devolves their capacity for certain things. And I think when you are in an environment where you're hyperstimulated with like visual imagery constantly and all sorts of other forms of stimulation, it's hard for you to sit down and develop that internal monologue. I don't think that it's inherent. I think people have had their abilities to develop that like eroded.
Is this an Angie prediction for the iPad baby generation?
Oh yeah.
They're going to be the ones walking around
with no internal monologue
and no ability to visualize anything.
I think so.
Because they didn't read books.
They didn't read books as children. They didn't
and
have that time alone, that quiet time, that time of boredom. That's when you develop an internal monologue. I guess because I write, and I'm writing a book right now.
Or is this like millennials' way of like dunking on iPad babies before they're
I'm not dunking. I'm not even dunking though. I'm genuinely concerned and I feel like bad. I want to eventually have a child. And it frightens me to think that these are the effects of overexposure and over-reliance on technology. These are the sort of psychic effects, is that it erodes your ability to form pictures mentally and to sort of have an internal dialogue. Which, I think that's the case. I think it's something that you develop and use over time. I don't think it's
I feel like we should have some kind of like idiocracy type test.
no.
That if you
You were
don't,
accusing me of being the eugenicist earlier.
that if you don't have a monologue, like an internal monologue or something, you should go and be like a soldier. Because like your brain is like almost like numb to thinking, and like I would assume like feeling emotions and stuff to some degree, because you can't think about things deeply because you have no internal monologue. So you should be like a test dummy, or like you should be like a military like soldier or something.
No, Jake, no.
Like strap on the mech suit, do you know what I mean? Because you're the perfect guy to just like scream instructions at, and then they'll just like do something in a crazy big like Evangelion suit.
I think we should encourage the development of those faculties and sort of discourage their erosion, and not rely on machines too much. Otherwise, it does fuck up your
like that was the problem with Shinji.
What? He didn't have an internal monologue.
He has too much of an internal monologue.
He
so
just needed to be exposed to TikTok.
I'm a piece of shit. I can't fight the Ava. I can't do this. I'm like a fucking depressed little poopy pear. And then like, he couldn't fucking do it for ages. Whereas if you sent some fucking brain dead in a monologue, like fucking psychopath in there, they're like, shoot the robot, shoot the angel. You got it, boss. Bang, done. No questions.
No mommy issues to dwell upon. Nothing.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like that's a great thing. J. George, if you limit your kid's tech input even a little bit, you're giving him or her a huge advantage. People say that, but then every time I talk it to parents and stuff, they seem to sort of like scoff at me and then go, "Oh, wait until you have children." So I don't know. I think this is something that's often said by people that have no children and like haven't had children yet, and I feel like I also have these idealistic ideas of giving my child the same kind of like gaming introduction as me, with like a Game Boy Color into all those retro games and stuff, so that they kind of don't getting out bombarded by crazy overwhelming technology and online gaming and all that kind of stuff.
The old Lion King VHS.
Yeah, man.
Giving them 90s childhood is what I want to do.
For sure. And even if there's a way that you can like throttle their internet so that it's basically like dial-up speeds, I would absolutely do that to a certain extent as well, because like there is a kind of zero need for you to have that level of connection to the internet at a certain age, basically.
There's no need
like,
for it
as I said, we've got the Lion King VHS tapes.
Yeah.
So there's no streaming or like stuff like that. You've got all of these other things and ways and devices in which you can do all of that other stuff, and you can limit the way that people do engage with technology. But as I say, only people that don't have children seem to say these sorts of things.
Yeah, that's true.
And I get laughed at every time I bring it up to anybody with children.
That is true.
So, we'll see how it goes with that kind of thing.
Quinn's Ideas is here. Hello, Quinn's Ideas.
All right, that's us, I think, guys.
Yeah.
That's a big one
My
tonight.
voice is all hoarse now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you for joining us this week, and we will catch you again next week. Promptly, since we're not traveling or doing anything. No more stag do's for a while. Hopefully. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Peace.